Welcome to today's explainer. Look, we are jumping right into a totally common, yet kind of rarely discussed friction point in modern relationships today. What actually happens when the love in our hearts doesn't exactly match the expectations in our bank accounts? This is a really intense story about the everyday tug of war between our relationship dynamics and our financial ambitions. So let's kick things off with a pretty provocative question. Can a perfect partner still be the wrong choice if they just don't earn enough? It's an uncomfortable thought, right? But it is exactly what one couple is wrestling with. Throughout this explainer, we're going to break down the anatomy of this relationship crisis, and we'll see how quickly a really solid foundation of love can be severely tested by the heavy weight of material expectations. All right, let's meet Olivia and David. She's 28, he's 30, and they've been married for 5 years now. On paper, that sounds like a wonderful milestone, doesn't it? But behind the closed doors of their small apartment, a hidden crisis is brewing. We aren't looking at a couple that fights nonstop or hates each other. Instead, we're looking at a couple where one partner's deep dissatisfaction is slowly but surely poisoning the well of the marriage. Now, what's really fascinating about David is that he possesses immense emotional wealth. He's incredibly kind, he never raises his voice, and he cares so deeply for Olivia, especially when she's sick. He listens to her and he genuinely respects her. But stacked against that emotional wealth is a perceived material deficit. They live in a small apartment, they don't own a nice car, and David makes $2,500 a month doing absolutely grueling construction work. Olivia is constantly weighing his incredible kindness against their lack of luxury, and in her mind, that material deficit is really starting to eclipse all the good stuff. Let's actually look at the math driving this conflict, because the numbers are pretty stark. Olivia has a great job, pulling in a comfortable $5,000 a month. David works incredibly hard in physical construction, but he makes exactly half that. Olivia actually explicitly tells him he needs to start a business because she wants him to match her earning power. But David? He simply doesn't know how. This income disparity creates a profound structural imbalance in their dynamic. It leaves David feeling totally inadequate and Olivia feeling intensely frustrated. But wait, it gets a bit more complicated. The crucial point isn't just what David earns, it's where that money actually goes. Out of his $2,500, he gives $1,200 to support his parents. That leaves only $1,300 for his household with Olivia. You can imagine how that goes over. When Olivia looks at that remaining amount, it deeply, deeply fuels her financial resentment. To her, it is quite simply not enough. And this financial squeeze creates an incredibly toxic environment. Olivia's desires are very, very clear. She wants a big house, a nice car, a business, expensive things, the whole shebang. She admits that while she loves David, she's frequently angry and sad because, well, she just wants a better life. She is looking entirely at what they lack, and she's become completely blinded to the amazing emotional stability she already has sitting right in front of her. So, driven by his wife's anger and her constant expressions of disappointment, David decides he just has to fix this. He adopts a terrifyingly grueling daily schedule. He wakes up before the sun even rises, he works his physically demanding construction job all day long, he comes home after sunset only to turn right back around to work a second job at a restaurant all night. He has absolutely no time to rest, no time to talk, and honestly, no time to smile. He literally turns himself into a machine just to fund Olivia's expectations. Now, before we look at the physical toll of this, we really have to understand the psychological catalyst. Imagine the heavy weight of these harsh words. Olivia actually told him, "You are not like other men. You are not a good husband." She directly compared him to other men who buy gifts and have big houses. David would just listen in silence, but the absolute devastation in his eyes was the exact thing pushing him out that door before sunrise every single day. But, you literally cannot outrun human biology. The relentless pursuit of material wealth finally catches up to him. One night, David returns home completely and utterly depleted. He looks incredibly weak, his hands are physically shaking, and then he just collapses entirely to the floor. The physical strain has simply broken him. And here is the absolute tragic irony of the whole situation. He actually did it. That second job at the restaurant brought in exactly what he promised, an extra $2,000 a month. The financial gap was finally closed. But that additional $2,000 came at a terrifying price. Olivia screams in pure terror as her husband falls, and she rushes him straight to the hospital. The doctor confirms that David is completely, dangerously exhausted. He had literally traded his basic human need for rest just to buy the lifestyle that Olivia demanded. As David is lying there, he speaks these incredibly vulnerable words to her. He says, "I am just tired. I feel scared." Hearing her normally stoic, resilient husband admit his profound fear and utter fatigue from a hospital bed, that forces a massive, shattering emotional pivot for Olivia. The illusion of all those expensive things just fades away the second she faces the terrifying reality of actually losing the man she loves. Overcome with this immense wave of guilt, Olivia goes through a rapid emotional realization. She breaks down crying. She physically reconnects by holding David's hand, and she genuinely apologizes. And David, in his unfailing kindness, just smiles and tells her not to cry. Sitting right there in that hospital room, she finally realizes that a partner's physical presence and their well-being infinitely outweigh any material desire. She discovers the real definition of true wealth. David doesn't need to be rich. He doesn't need to buy gold or a fancy sports car. David loves her, he respects her, and he takes care of her. And she finally understands that this is entirely enough. She vows never to compare him to other men ever again. Money is important, for sure, but love and safety, they are vastly more important. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a really stark question to ask yourself. If forced to choose, would you trade emotional safety for financial wealth? It's super easy to think we can always have both, but when the pressure is really on, what truly matters to you? I hope this story of Olivia and David has given you something deep to ponder long after we finish. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and keep asking those big questions.